Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down a really simple idea that has a surprisingly huge outcome, the 1% rule. It's all about how these tiny, almost invisible daily actions are actually the real secret to getting those big, life-changing results. But okay, before we jump into the solution, we really need to get a handle on the problem. It's this super frustrating paradox that sinks most big goals, and I'm willing to bet it's something you felt before. I mean, think about it, right? We have all been there. You get totally fired up. You set this huge, exciting goal. You're going to lose weight, start a business, write that novel. You go all in for a few weeks, working super hard. And then you kind of look around and nothing. It feels like nothing has actually changed. And this right here is the moment everything falls apart. See, we expect our progress to look like a nice, straight, upward line. But the reality? It's almost always the slow, kind of flat curve at the start. And that gap between what we think should be happening and what's actually happening, that's where all the frustration comes from. And it's pretty much the number one reason we just give up. So, this incredibly frustrating phase actually has a name. It's called the Plateau of Latent Potential. It's this invisible period where all your hard work is building up. Think of it like interest compounding in a bank account, but it just hasn't hit that critical tipping point yet. And the real tragedy? So many people quit right here. They think the plateau means they're failing, when really they could be just moments away from a massive breakthrough. So you see, the problem usually isn't about a lack of effort. Not at all. It's that we fundamentally misunderstand how progress actually works. Real lasting achievement, it's not about making one giant leap. It's about the slow accumulation of thousands and thousands of tiny little steps. And you know, this quote from James Clear just hits the nail on the head. We're sort of trained to look for that one big, defining moment, that earth-shattering win. But the truth? Real success is almost never about that one moment. It's about the quiet, let's be honest, kind of unsexy work you put in day after day after day. Okay, so if taking massive action isn't the answer, then what is? Well, let's dive into the simple but kind of profound math behind this whole 1% rule. The core idea is, well, it's almost deceptively simple. All you have to do is try to get just 1% better every single day. That's it. Not 100% better, not even 10%, just a tiny, tiny marginal improvement.
And this is where the math gets genuinely mind-blowing. Because of the power of compounding, if you get just 1% better every day for a year, you don't just end up 365% better. No. Since each day's improvement builds on the last one, you actually end up nearly 37 times better than when you started. I mean, that's the wild, unintuitive magic of exponential growth right there.
And this graph shows you exactly what that looks like. See how it starts out super slow, almost flat? That's that plateau of latent potential we were just talking about. But if you just stick with it, if you stay consistent, those tiny gains start to stack on top of each other, and then boom, the curve just shoots upward. The takeaway is huge. Progress isn't a straight line, it's an exponential curve.
So here's the crucial thing. You've got to think of your habits in exactly this way. Every single time you do that small thing, whether it's reading one page, doing 5 push-ups, or making one sales call, you're basically making a small deposit into your future self. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, for sure, but over time, that compound interest grows into something huge.
Now, this idea of compounding gains, it's not just some nice theory. Let's look at a real-world example. And it's honestly one of the most incredible turnarounds in sports history. You can really see this principle in action here. Okay, so for almost 100 years, the British cycling team was, well, they were a bit of a joke. They'd won a grand total of 1 gold medal in all that time. It got so bad that one of the top bike manufacturers actually refused to sell them bikes because they were worried it would hurt their brand. But then, in 2003, everything changed. They hired a new performance director, a guy named Dave Brailsford.
Now, Brailsford didn't come in with some revolutionary secret training method. Nope. He had a philosophy, and he called it the aggregation of marginal gains. The idea was shockingly simple. Break down everything that goes into riding a bike, and then just improve every single tiny component by 1%. He believed that if you did that, all those little gains would add up to something huge when you put them all back together.
And when I say they took this to the extreme, I mean it. I mean, sure, they improved the obvious stuff, like the bike seats and the tire grip, but they also obsessed over hundreds of tiny details nobody else was even thinking about. They hired a surgeon just to teach the riders the proper way to wash their hands to cut down on colds. They tested different massage gels for muscle recovery. They even figured out the absolute best pillow for each individual rider to get the best night's sleep. Wild, right? So what happened?
The result of all these tiny 1% improvements was just staggering. In the next 10 years, the British cycling team became the single most dominant force in the history of their sport. Those tiny gains didn't just add up, they compounded. They created this absolute avalanche of success.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How can you become the Dave Brailsford of your own life? How do we actually take this powerful idea and apply it to our own goals? Well, first things first, it requires a total mindset shift. We've got to ditch some of these common myths about achievement. That whole go big or go home idea, it usually just leads to, well, going home. And we have to stop waiting around for motivation to strike. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes. A solid system, on the other hand, that will always beat a fleeting feeling. All right, so here are 3 really simple, practical steps to get you started. Number 1, do a 1% audit. Just ask yourself, what is the absolute smallest, easiest version of this habit I can do? We're talking reading 1 page, not a whole chapter. Meditating for 1 minute, not 30. Make it too easy to say no to. Second, forget about next month or next year. Your only job is to win today. Just focus on the next 24 hours. And finally, get a calendar, a real one. And every day you do your tiny task, draw a big fat X on it. Your new goal is super simple. Don't break the chain.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. It's another one of those mindset shifts, because how you use this rule really comes down to where you decide to put your focus.
See, when you focus only on the giant outcome, all you feel is pressure. You're constantly reminded of how far away you are from your goal, and it's demoralizing. But when you shift your focus and you learn to fall in love with the daily process, with just making that 1% improvement, that's when you build consistency. You get to feel successful every single day you show up, and that builds the confidence and self-esteem you need to actually keep going.
And this is really the key to the whole thing. The results you have in your life right now, they're not a reflection of what you did today. They're a lagging measure of your past habits. So the work you put in today, it isn't for a reward today, it's you casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. You do that enough times, and the results have no choice but to follow.
So really, there's only one question left. Where can you find a 1% improvement in your life today? You don't need some massive, life-altering change. You don't need a miracle. You just need to find one small thing, one tiny little area where you can get just 1% better. So, what's it going to be?